Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. I'm going to be your expert math coach today, and we're treating this whole thing like a step-by-step classroom tutorial. Our goal? Uncovering a universal toolkit for cracking really complex problems. Look, whether you're staring down advanced calculus or honestly just trying to figure out the absolute best route for your daily commute, we're going to clear away that brain fog, ditch the anxiety, and get you to that awesome aha moment of discovery.
Okay, so our foundation today is this absolute classic by George Polya called How to Solve It. Now, what's great here is that instead of just, force-feeding you a bunch of dry formulas, Polya actually wrote this playbook to teach you how to think. It's all about unlocking your own inventive faculties.
And I absolutely love how he sets the stage with his positive affirmation right out of the gate. So many students look at a complex problem and just totally freeze up. But Polya, he tells us that math isn't some awful chore, it's a game. It can be as fun as a crossword puzzle, or like he says, as invigorating as a really fast game of tennis. So take a deep breath, you've totally got the tools to win this.
Here's the 4-step masterclass checklist we'll be using. Step 1, understand the problem. Step 2, devise a plan. Step 3, carry out the plan. And Step 4, look back and reflect. But real quick, before we jump into Step 1, let's define the core tool we'll be using. Heuristics. Now I know, it sounds super academic, but it's really just the study of methods for discovery and invention. These are highly practical tools that apply just as easily to everyday puzzles, like say planning a massive family road trip, as they do to strict textbook science. All right, first up, understand the problem.
Because, let's face it, you can't hit a target if you haven't actually identified it. If you look at the red side here, you'll see a super common mistake, just foolishly diving headfirst into computations without really understanding what's going on. But on the green side, we've got the structured Polya method. This means carefully isolating the unknown, the data, and the conditions. Let's use a practice problem to make this concrete. Say you need to calculate the fuel costs for that big cross-country road trip we just mentioned.
To do that, you need these 3 questions. They are literally your lifeline. What is the unknown? What are the data? And what is the condition? Actually, I want you to pause this explainer right now and try it. Okay, for our road trip practice problem, the unknown is your total fuel cost. The data would be the total distance and the current gas prices. And the condition? That's your car's miles per gallon. Isolating these exact parts is exactly how you escape that initial haze of confusion. And to truly lock in this first step, try using this study habit checklist. Visualize your goal by drawing a really clear diagram. Seriously, draw it out. Highlight the main relationships using color coding to make all those abstract ideas totally concrete. Separate the different parts of the condition and just write them down so your brain isn't trying to juggle all that unnecessary clutter.
Okay, moving on to Step 2. Devise a plan.
So once the problem is deeply understood, it's time to mobilize your memory. Let's do a rapid-fire knowledge check. To spark that lucky idea, pause and ask yourself, have I seen this before? Is this giant, complex problem secretly just an old friend in a clever disguise? Think about our road trip for a second. Have you ever calculated the cost for a much shorter weekend getaway? If you're still feeling stuck, look directly at the unknown. Ask yourself, do you know a related, already solved problem that has the exact same unknown? Finding a related problem acts like the perfect stepping stone. It bridges the gap between the data you have and the current challenge you're trying to solve. Here are some of Polya's classic heuristics for planning. If the mini problem is just too tough, try solving a more accessible, related problem first to build up some momentum. Go back to your basic definitions, or try working backward from your goal. You can even keep just a part of the condition and drop the rest for a minute. By the way, this is exactly how classmates can explain alternative solution paths to each other during group discussions. You just share which heuristic finally cracked the code for you.
All right, Step 3. Carry out the plan.
Now we enter the execution phase. This is where discipline and rigorous logic have to take the wheel. Think of this whole process like building a giant structure with wooden blocks. You start with your lucky idea, sure, but you have to carry it through in absolute detail. You've got to secure those massive, load-bearing great blocks first. Once you're completely confident in those major steps, then you can start obsessing over the smaller, minor details. Going back to our road trip, you'd calculate the total gallons needed first, right? And then multiply that by the gas price. The crucial thing here is to constantly pause your work. Ask yourself, can you see clearly that the step is correct? Or better yet, can you formally prove that it's correct? Relying on both intuitive insight and formal reasoning to check every single step is what prevents your whole structure of logic from just collapsing at the very end.
And finally, Step 4. Look back and reflect.
You know, so many students finally get an answer, slam their textbook shut, and just move on. But skipping this review stage, it's a real tragedy because reconsidering the completed solution is where the true, lasting learning actually happens. It isn't just about hunting for typos. Can you try to derive the result using a totally different method? Can you look at the whole solution at a glance and find a way to make it simpler? And honestly, does your road trip fuel cost actually make logical sense, or is the number astronomically high?
I really love this quote from the text. No problem whatever is completely exhausted. It's a great reminder that math is an experimental science in the making, and your curiosity should be basically endless. With enough study, no problem is ever truly done. You can always uncover a new layer or find a slightly more elegant proof.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway, and this is especially huge for any parents or coaches out there helping kids with math. We aren't just teaching students how to pass a single test. We are teaching them a generalized framework. Ask them, can you use this result or this method for some entirely different problem? That right there is how you build an independent thinker.
Let's look at this quick summary flowchart to cement everything. A great mnemonic checklist for any difficult scenario is, until discovery comes to light, understand the goal, devise a plan, carry it out logically, and look back to reflect. UDCL.
So, the triumph of discovery is waiting for you inside every single challenge, whether that's a really dense physics equation or a super complex strategic decision at your job. You now have the masterclass toolkit. But here is the real question I want to leave you with. If these 4 simple steps can decode the universe's hardest math problems, what could they unlock in your own life tomorrow? Go solve it.